To distract myself from how I'm lightly salted at half the RWBY fandom after the most recent episode, I've decided to indulge in a lighter topic, one less controversial and that no one asked for. And when you don't ask, I deliver. So, what is a best girl? To be honest, best girls much like garlic in cooking, meaning that you measure that shit with your heart. Best girls, after you've scoped them out a few times, maintain a je ne sais quoi about them that cannot be defined as much other than best girl. However, I'm going to try to define the undefinable, the courageous bitch I am. Like any other academic slut, I first turned to Urban Dictionary, which defines best girl as a female character in an anime or video game series who is subjectively chosen to be the best. The term best girl is used by fans to express their opinion on their favorite character being superior to others based on individual traits that they may possess, as well as their abilities. So while this definition rings true to the original, and still a valid definition of best girl, as the term grows more mainstream, I think we can replace, in this case, subjective with objective. Best girl used to be practically synonymous with your favorite character. However, over time, it grew into its own category, and best girl has become its own entity, requiring its own choice of character. Let's spice this up with some nuance, shall we? I support the notion that best girl must be objective, as the very concept of something being best implies that impartiality reigns over the subjective, or at the very least, opinion isn't as centered. And this is one character trope that I genuinely believe people can separate their bias from. In my experience, my choices for best girl hardly overlap with my choices for favorite character. I know that what I like in a character's personality, or find most interesting in a character's plot, won't always match up with the best girl's objectively kind and wholesome persona. Even the biggest Gaara stans know his personality's leagues behind in terms of best girl factor compared to Rock Lee. Okay, so we figured out that best girl won't always align with our personal favorites. That's fine. So then does this mean that best girl must always be the goodest of the good? Welp, no. First, goodest isn't a word, but you know what is? Best. Boom. So yeah, when I say that best girl must be exemplary in terms of good, I don't mean strict morals in the binary concept of good versus evil. This is hard to explain, so let's use an example. Take Scorpia from She-Ra, for example. Honestly, I wouldn't fight anyone who claims the best girl title for Bow or Scorpia. They're both viable candidates. But if you take the Scorpia route, then you can't deny that Scorpia is on the side of evil. She exists on a long list of characters who place personal relationships over the larger picture. This isn't a bad thing from a storytelling perspective. It actually makes for very interesting characters. And viewers, at some point, have decided that best girls can work for the side of evil so long as their personal relationships and upbeat personality birth qualities that parallel the quote-unquote hero or good guy. I mean, as much as Scorpia condones whatever the Horde is doing, she exists in a fictional universe in which we can suspend our disbelief and view good versus evil on a less intense scale. This means that we choose to place emphasis not on her loyalties to the Horde, but instead her loyalties to her friends, her kind disposition, and her relatable excessive apologizing. Okay, so best girl has to be chosen without bias, and best girl has to be wholesome. I put a little asterisk there so I feel more professional about going against what I just said like literally a second ago. So yes, best girl has to be wholesome, but I think there are two ways to go about this. Beatrice from Over the Garden Wall is best girl, but she starts off as a bitch.
Who cares?
And as a disclaimer, I am using bitch in the most appreciative way here, from one bitch to another. But I think another type of best girl is one who exemplifies change, usually from the cliche cold to warm, bad to good. Beatrice is wholesome not from the start like Scorpia and Bow are, but rather she is wholesome due to her story, her plot. She starts off willing to risk the brothers' lives for her personal gain, but she ends up learning the power of friendship. It's always the motherfucking power of friendship, and then changes her ways and ends up being best girl. Pop quiz. Who's the best girl in RWBY? You have 3 seconds, accompanied by bland elevator music. Wait, no. Enya. If you guessed Weiss Schnee, you're correct. If you chose Oscar, I'll give you half a point. So what is it? I mean, they're all fighting for a morally decent cause. They mostly all have good personalities. They all have lines and actions that demonstrate growth and a slight badassery. So what the fuck is it about Weiss motherfucking Schnee that makes her best girl above the others? I think this is where, if none of the other characters have as much of a stressed, wholesome energy that sets them apart, then change in behavior is what separates best girl from the squad. Bow and Scorpia are so clearly wholesome compared to all of the other characters. No competition. However, the RWBY characters all run a lot closer in these qualities. So, inherently, Weiss's switch from slight antagonist from the first season to becoming the most supportive and warm character in later seasons is the very thing that makes her best girl. Also, I don't want you to pretend that being tsundere doesn't give you a leg up in this non-existent competition because, like, yeah. Okay, so best girl must be objective. Best girl must be wholesome in abundance or wholesome via character growth. Anything else? There is one more quality I think best girl possesses, but I'm not sure if it's that best girl requires this trait or if this trait just so often is bequeathed upon them. Best girl is often an anchor in the show. When the show gets dark, when the show hits its lows, when the show itself is slapping intensely, but the characters feel broken, this is when best girl is holding it all together. I think what it comes down to is that best girl is so often reliable, both to their fellow characters as well as the viewers. There's a certain comfort in best girl, and what this implies is that best girl is the comfort character of the entire fanbase, something and someone we can agree upon. It's a majority vote. I mean, you won't always agree on best girl. My brother and I debate best girl in the Owl House, and I've since realized that he's right and I'm wrong, but isn't that beautiful? How best girls bring us together. Truly fucking magical. So, I think this about it. Best girl is objective. Best girl is wholesome in abundance or wholesome via character growth. Best girl is an anchor both in universe and in fandom. Deciding best girl relies upon majority opinion that is born from the objective. But you know what I really think? I think you find best girl with your heart. And I believe you all have a little bit of best girl inside of you. Or maybe, just maybe, the real best girl was the friends we made along the way.